Well, have we got a hot show for you today? We're getting ready to talk about e-cigarettes, disposable vapes, and the impact on our community. Are our youth being targeted? We need to know so that we can take action, so we can save our youth. America's being flooded with marketing targeting our youth with vaping colors, flavors, and it is harming our children. And today we have an expert joining us to tell us what's going on, educate us, and how we can take action to help our youth. We'll return right after this opening.
Hello, I'm Marilyn Hemingway, and welcome to A Gathering Place. I said, I'm stepping back because we have young voices who want to be heard and they're moving on something.
Branding is really important to you and your business.
Even a basic type of technology, you learn it all.
And people are
Good question.
Today, we're talking the problem with disposable vapes and are our youth being targeted? We have a special guest, an expert with us today. And let's welcome joining us, Dr. Patrick Dworakowski, excuse me. And he told me I could start calling him Patrick right after
Thank you, Marilyn.
Well, let me read your bio, and then we'll get started right into, because this is an important subject. I did not realize how serious it was in our schools and with our youth. And so I decided to go to Get Your Chamber. We need to be on this topic. We need to educate our youth, because it's become a cliche, but it is so important that we realize our youth, they are our future. And if we don't keep their health, if we don't do what we need to do to make sure that the law is followed, they're being impacted even as we speak. So let's go into your bio, and then let's get rocking and rolling with some questions here. All right, so I'm joined by Patrick, and he is a doctor in education. He's a subject matter expert about this. He's done the work, folks. He's served on numerous education communities in various capacities for over 30 years, focused on teaching, learning, and youth. He has held key positions in the education space, both domestically and abroad. So you've done some traveling. As an executive leader, senior education advisor, school administrator, and classroom teacher. He holds a Doctor of Education, Leadership Master of Science. Oh, you're smart. Education Administration, and a Bachelor of Science in Education, Special Education. And earlier you were telling me that your daughter is in special education. So it definitely seems like the family they're following in your footsteps. So you must be very knowledgeable.
Yes, ma'am. Education is where our passion is. I really appreciate you having me today. My hope is that I can share with your audience some facts, some statistics, but most importantly, how they can get involved.
That's right. That's right. Because you and I were talking earlier before we came on, and once I decided the chamber really wanted to get involved with this campaign to educate and also activate folks to get the word out, and also hold law enforcement accountable so that the law folks are being held to the law. But we need to understand what's going on. So I am delighted that you're here. It's an unfortunate topic, but I'm glad you're here. The bottom line, what is going on? What is the problem that we're seeing? And then I really want to get into the difference between e-cigarettes, nicotine vapes, or the similarities also. I'm coming from a place that I need knowledge, and my viewing audience needs knowledge also. So what is the problem?
Illegal disposable vapes are on the rise with children and youth, and we are now at a crisis level. These products are manufactured in China. They enter the United States, and they're being marketed specifically to children and the youth. And I'll speak in a moment about the schools specifically, but I want to make sure that when I say children and youth for this respective conversation, everyone understands we're talking about secondary education primarily, and these are grades 7 through 12. So 12-year-olds all the way up through 18-year-olds, which are our future. As a result, while cigarette smoking among teens is at a historic low, and even vaping is declining in recent years, the flavored disposable vapes are skyrocketing. And I'll have a few specifics that will bring clarity to this exact point.
So when you say marketing, the flavor, also I understand the packaging, the colors, things that are attractive to youth. What does that look like?
So these manufacturers are doing everything that they can to escape detection. One of the examples is they recently came out with what you and I would probably see as a school supply, a pack of highlighters, yellow and red, the violets, the light blues, things that we know during school supply shopping that we as parents do before school starts. These manufacturers have decided to market these flavored disposable vapes to look just like a highlighter. So they're not finding any problem with masking their product because, as we know, we see something like candy. As a young person, the young person says, I'd like to have some candy. So they go to reach for the candy, and unfortunately, it's packaged as an illegal disposable vape, and it's flavored. In addition to that, some of the ways that kid-friendly marketing is happening is the flavored vapes. And we'll talk a little bit more about that when I break down the differences between and among the group.
So I just showed that you were talking a picture and it did look like a highlighter. And then I noticed the color rainbow vape, colorful. It looked like a highlighter that you would use. Clearly it's something that, kids would be attracted to, our youth would be attracted to. So this is very targeted marketing. So before we go to a commercial break that's coming, I do want to ask you something. What are nicotine vapes? And then what's the difference between nicotine vapes and e-cigarettes? Or is there a difference? Or is just what you call it?
There is a difference. So the nicotine vapes sometimes are called e-cigarettes. Mm-hmm. They're devices that can be used to consume nicotine. Many believe, and research shows that they may be less harmful alternatives to cigarettes, which can help cigarette smokers reduce their risk. And in the U.S. and even the FDA, there's regulations regarding all of these matters, but many hundreds of thousands have submitted requests to the FDA to be approved, and they've been rejected. And specifically, these illegal disposable and flavored vapes are the ones that I'm speaking of. The disposable vapes also are devices that can be used and thrown away. So for a young person, that is a opportunity to not necessarily own something. So they get a hold of them, they use them, they get rid of them. They're not refillable like a cartridge-based vape, and they come in, again, these fruity candy types of flavors. And I'll remind again, they're not approved by the FDA, and they're illegal, 100% illegal. But because of the lack of information and the lack of enforcement, hundreds of millions have been imported. And these devices come in a lot of different shapes and a little different sizes. Marilyn just shared some pictures of an example. The rainbow, the different colors, they look attractive, and young people are getting their hands on them in a lot of different ways.
And they look like even the USB drive that you just stick in, your computer. And we know kids are on computers a lot. So they look like, and those are becoming more colorful too, because they want to, because USB drives are in schools. It really reminded me of that also. So to me, it's like very clear that between the very colorful packaging and the flavors, that this is definitely targeting our youth, almost like in the olden days with cereal boxes. It's very targeted to children. So that's very problematic. I want to know more about this, but before we do, I want to go ahead and remind folks of during this commercial break of an upcoming event. So Miss Dr. Patrick, we'll see you in a moment right after this commercial. Well, welcome back to everyone. We are here with Dr. Patrick, subject matter expert on disposable vapes and e-cigarettes and nicotine vapes. And we got some statistics we can talk about. I'm totally blown away by these statistics. So let's go ahead and bring Dr. Patrick back. All right, we're back. Welcome back. Thank you very much. And I'm looking at some statistics regarding this growth of these disposables as you've described them. Use among high schoolers, has skyrocketed 2,188% since 2019. That is shocking. I mean, I'm just blown away by that.
That's not a number we usually use, right, Marilyn? 2,188. I mean, when do we ever use that in our lifetime?
I know. I mean, if somebody told me something increased 15%, I'm shouting hallelujah, right? But 2,188%. What do you contribute that to?
So it goes back to the marketing. It goes back to the opportunity. And if you think starting with the merchant, so whether it's a small shop, whether it's a small gas station, the merchants, a lot of times, they don't even know that these illegal disposable vapes cannot be sold, let alone they shouldn't even have them. Second, the flavored vapes, again, if it's a product that they're making money off of, they may not acknowledge it completely because either they didn't receive communication from the appropriate source. As I shared earlier, the FDA has a responsibility to regulate, and none of these are legal in this country. Some may say that the FDA has a lot more work to do, and this show's really not about that, but mainly it is about the merchant and the availability for young people to get their hands on it. When I speak with teachers and administrators and youth, I have found that it's not difficult. These are everywhere. You pick the zip code and they're available. As far as the percentages go, youth vaping overall has dropped, but these disposable vapes that you just referenced, up 2,100+%. That's just astronomical. We don't even use those numbers, right? It's so off the chart. Historically, youth smoking has declined, but here we have these disposable vapes. Again, disposable, a key piece here, because if you're looking at a youngster in a community or in school, they can dismiss this right away, or they actually share it between and among one another until it's gone. And many of these have thousands of puffs. So it's not just once or twice. Let's acknowledge up front that thousands of nicotine puffs from this product. And we don't even know what are in these products, right? The FDA has a job. They regulate, but these products are coming straight in from China. They're making it in our country a lot of different ways, and they're just being distributed. Your screen here is a perfect example of Elf Bar. There's 800 puffs in these respective ones, and there's ones that are even bigger than that are over 1,000. So these are a serious matter. Puff Bar is another company. So you have Elf Bar, Puff Bar, Escobar. I mean, there's three right there. These are the preferred. Puff Bar is, I believe, the most preferred as a survey of some time ago, right followed by Escobar and the Elf Bar. And again, check your zip code, check your local gas station. They are there. They should not be, and they're being placed into the hands of kids.
And I just pulled this up. I Googled it, and it's right there out on the internet. Easy to get to, order it. As you say, it comes from China, overseas. What can we do to address this problem? What can we do to end this problem? I mean, has parents, has those who are concerned about our youth?
Let's start with the easiest one, right, which is awareness. And I think that starts right here. Mm-hmm. Your listeners, the community members that you're in contact with, if they can just take a few minutes to learn about what we are speaking of, illegal disposable vapes, flavored vapes, it's going to go a long way. By starting right now, letting everyone know that this is a problem and it is impacting our children and youth. Anywhere we can increase enforcement. Now, we all know law enforcement, our police officers, as an example, they have a job to do. And it's not necessarily to chase young people who are using illegal vapes, but we also have enforcement in different code offices or different county or state offices. And those code officials, those code enforcement officials can be activated to work in this area. Because if they're not on the shelf, of course, then our children cannot put those ingredients in their bodies. We need to stop the flow of this product. This is obviously a national matter, so that is for the higher levels of law enforcement, but it needs to stop. If there's a way that we can include policymakers, I believe that could tip the scale for that respective point, which is the larger scale. We know China is flooding the U.S. with these illegal disposable vapes. And until they stop targeting the American youth by America acknowledging this is a problem, this is a crisis, it's not going to slow down. In fact, that figure that you referenced earlier could actually double.
Wow. Well, they really think there's a possibility that we could see 2188% double.
We could, because now this has become the natural for young people, the common. If I may speak for just a few moments about our schools, it might help bring the point forward.
Please do.
So obviously everything that I've shared is about this vaping being a crisis, these illegal disposable vapes. The majority of our kids, they don't even acknowledge it as a problem. They use the following terms. This is what everyone does. Or, hey, do you know someone who can get this for me? In speaking with young people, recent graduates who are adults, all the way up through parents of young people who permitted me to speak with them, they explained that there's a full slang of our young people regarding this topic. Rip it, hit it, ghost, all these different terms that we don't naturally use in our everyday language. So it has developed its own environment. And unfortunately, these negative effects are not just impacting kids with health and safety, but also in the classroom, because students are vaping in the school building, in the bathrooms, on school property. And it's detracting from teaching and learning. It's detracting from the administration doing their job. And that's going to have a full impact across the entire school community.
It is. So it's not only, it's a health issue because of the impact on our children and their bodies, but it's an education issue because it's causing distraction in the classroom. And it's a distraction issue because school resource officers are being pulled in many directions, and this just adds more of a burden on their responsibilities.
That's an excellent point. In some schools, we are fortunate to have a school resource officer. That individual has a responsibility to protect and serve. And they do that by making sure that the school's safe on the outside and the inside. When they're pulled to address something like illegal vaping or students who are involved with passing, distributing, or using, they now are taken away from their primary purpose, their primary mission. So it impacts all levels, whether it's the student, the parent, the teacher, the counselors, the administrators, and of course the school resource officers.
And you've given us, are there any more action items that we can take to help address this problem?
There are, and it's going to start back with, I'm going to expand just for a moment about awareness. Ask your children questions about this topic. If you're a parent, a grandparent, an aunt, an uncle, a brother or sister, uncle, aunt, ministers, shopkeepers, you name it, ask young people about vaping, specifically disposable vaping, and see what their reaction is. Because we know sometimes young people will talk to adults if there's a trust relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know that all these young people really want to participate in this disposable vape game, but they have peer pressure. They're always looking for someone to give them a better answer. And as adults, we have that responsibility. So it doesn't have to just be parents or grandparents. It can be all of us. So have that conversation with these young people. Ask them. You'll know by their reaction if they're involved at all. The last thing I'll share is keep an eye out when you're in places that sell these types of products. And I don't mean to interfere. That's a different calling. Just observe, because what you're going to see is there's usually not a purchase of just one item. It's multiple items, because then they end up in the hands of kids.
You know, I am listening to you, and once again, I went to Google because it's out there. And look at this. I have to admit, it's pretty. This is pretty. All the colors of the rainbow. It just looks attractive. The shape of this, it's just attractive. And all of these are examples of what I understand to be the most popular disposable vape is the Puff Bar. And look at the colors. And it's clearly being targeted towards our youth. And I'll tell you why I say that. I'll go ahead and get that off the screen. I was traveling this past week, and because I'm becoming more aware of this issue, and we're bringing it to our viewing audience, I was getting my gas, and I saw a sign, new vaping's back in the store. Actually stopped and took a picture of it. I'm concerned. I'm like, let me go see what this is about. When I looked at the vape and when I finally found it, very muted colors. Something that would be attractive to an adult. And it took me a while to find it in the store, but they were there when I finally found it behind the counter. Now I'm looking at this very colorful stuff, clearly targeting youth. You know, it's very stark difference between the muted colors sitting behind the counter for adults. You just got that vibe from it. But I'm just by Google, this stuff is out there, very colorful and everything. So we've got to, as you say, bring awareness to this, bring attention to it. Is it feasible to call the local sheriff and say, hey, we need to crack down on this, bring attention? Because also in my community, the fastest growing business are vaping businesses.
I would say as adults and as leaders, we know when the best time is to speak with our sheriff's office. We know when the best time is to have that one-on-one conversation or small group. There's a lot of council meetings, things like that. There's a time and place for everything, right? Mm-hmm. The main points we know are these are illegal disposable vapes. The majority of the consumers are youth. You showed the perfect pictures. They're very attractive, especially with the flavors, candy, dessert flavors, things to that nature. Anyone in your audience who just has that knowledge alone is powerful. Knowledge is power, right? We know that there's harmful ingredients, violations of federal law. We can go on and on and on. I'll make a reference to New York City. This is worth Googling. New York City filed a racketeering charge against the distributors of these illegal vapes. And there's a few other states that are getting deeper into the enforcement. So we're starting to see a little bit of that. But in our own communities, pick your favorite zip code, your favorite town. There's still a concern, and that's what I'm pressing here. There's a concern because someone in your community is selling these in their stores, gas stations, small shops, and they're illegal. And unfortunately, they're ending up in the hands of children, and that's going to be a major problem for all of us as these young people either have a health issue and or an academic issue. And that's what we all know what our schools are here for. Teaching and learning is the primary focus. And when there's a negative impact or a challenge in any way to teaching and learning, then we're going to be establishing a generation of children who then cannot serve as citizens in our great country. And so there's lots of concerns, and I'm trying not to take all your time with it, but I hope you see I'm passionate about this, and I'm very concerned for the educators, because that's where children are if they're not out playing or spending time with their family. They're in the schools, and unfortunately, these products are in the schools.
That's right. And I just actually finished a program this morning with our local school district, and I think I have a relationship with them through the Gullah Geechee Chamber of Commerce, our organization, that I'm going to go and speak with Mr. Price, our superintendent. It's already been mentioned. I talked to some school board members about this issue, bringing it to their attention. Wonderful advice. I'm going to go ahead and we're going to take another quick commercial break. And when we come back, we're going to wrap up with Dr. Patrick, just some final thoughts and some statistics for us, and just telling us how we can reach out to him possibly and bring him to a neighborhood near you to get more information. We'll be right back, folks, after this commercial break. Well, we're back, folks, and before we bring Dr. Patrick back, I just want to remind everyone that right now we have going on in Georgetown through October 31st, we have Bring Harriet Home, a Journey to Freedom, a monumental event happening in Georgetown. Very excited about it. Monument will be here in the city of Georgetown until October 31st. We invite you to come on out and join us at this event. As you can see there, our poster that's out there, beautiful monument. Spent some time with some kids from the school district recently. Folks are coming back home. Folks are coming to Georgetown visiting, joining us as we enjoy the Journey to Freedom sculpture here in Georgetown. Come on down to Georgetown before it leaves us and it goes to Brook Green Gardens right up the road. But of course, we always encourage everyone to come out and join us and enjoy our restaurants and our retail spaces in the Gullah Museum on King Street. Looking forward to everyone joining us on October 7th at our Artisan and Creators Fest. As a part of the Bring Harriet Home program, we're going to have our local and state, regional, and Gullah Geechee artists and creators in the Joseph Hayne Rainey Park. So come on out Saturday, October 7th from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. But let's go ahead and bring Dr. Patrick back with us as we wrap up our show. And Dr. Patrick, are there any other statistics that we need to be aware of that will help us as we call for greater enforcement of the laws that are on the books to help our kids?
Some other data that may be helpful focuses specifically on what we know as the National Youth Tobacco Survey. This is every year. This is conducted by the FDA. This is public information. So any Google search, you'll be able to find the National Youth Tobacco Survey. We know that disposable use among high schoolers, as we spoke, skyrocketed 2,188% since 2019. We can't say that enough because it gets everybody's attention because that's such a huge number. Youth smoking, historical lows, 92% decline since 2000. And also 91% decline since 2000 of youth smoking menthol cigarettes. So there's different types of cigarettes, of course. Those are some points. It's right in the survey. And the last thing that I'll share is about the pattern of these flavored disposable vapes that most may not recognize as the key problem here. And that is the fruity flavors. 75% of the users have stated that those are their favorites. And then the candy, the dessert, and other sweet ones, about 40%. So no matter what the numbers look like, we have a problem. Illegal disposable vapes. And if we were in any situation where we see young people, specifically a child, playing with poison, we're not going to stand by and say, well, I need to figure out who the right person is to be part of this enforcement or who has jurisdiction control. We act. And it's the same here. We need to act. We have some courageous law enforcement officers out there now who are participating in the enforcement, but we can't rely primarily on our law enforcement officers. They have other responsibilities to protect and serve.
And Dr. Patrick, thank you for bringing it to attention as you were talking, and I pulled up some of those colors and flavors, and guava, ice, strawberry. Yeah, definitely fruity flavored. And our youth, you like that kind of stuff. You haven't reached that point of sophisticated taste and flavors yet.
And Marilyn, there's more coming. I mean, gummy bears and watermelon. Pink lemonade, right? Pink lemonade's a popular drink with young people. I know it's always been with my kids. They love pink lemonade.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
But again, it gets back to the color scheme. It gets back to the flavor scheme. It gets back to the availability in the markets or in the gas stations. And then, of course, once it's in the hands of the kids, they don't just sit on it by themselves. They share it. It goes around.
They share it. Yeah, it's peer pressure kicking in. They're sharing it. And it just multiplies from there, unfortunately. You've offered, before we came on live, you talked about coming down, meeting some folks. Your daughter attends college here in South Carolina. We would love to have you come down, speak to some folks. I'm putting the word out there now, folks, because I know some of y'all are sheriff or school district folks, not just here in Georgetown where we're headquartered, but the chamber. We cover the entire coast of South Carolina. We go into the Midlands. Some folks in the upstate. If you're interested in bringing Dr. Patrick in or having coffee with him when he's in the state, let me know, and we'll be happy to help you out with that, refer you, make the contact. This is very important. This is very important regarding our youth right now with their education and their health and also their future. And, we all know there are a lot of problems out there. We all facing a lot of issues as a nation, and this is one more to put on the table, but we need to become aware of it. Thank you, Dr. Patrick, for joining us and making that happen. Any final two thoughts or a final thought before we leave?
Knowledge is power. The more we know, the more can get involved to enforce and to protect from the perspective of children and youth. That's our future. We all know that. And my passion is education. And if we can get this information out to the right people, it's one step closer of getting all of this poison, all these illegal disposable vapes out of our schools.
All right, very good. That's a great place to stop this show. And folks, I just want to remind everybody, not only today is this happening, but this is also, we're going to be showing this on Wednesday also at 4:00. So if you missed it today, tell the folks you can come back, and we're going to show this show on Wednesday, September 19th. Also, Dr. Patrick, thank you for joining us. Really appreciate you coming out today. And if y'all drop the questions and comment section, and we'll try to answer those questions and get back with you. Dr. Patrick, thank you for joining us. We really appreciate the information and looking forward to seeing you in South Carolina.
Thank you, Marilyn.
All right. You have a great day. All right, folks, that's Dr. Patrick joining us and sharing with us his knowledge as a subject matter expert. This is a crucial issue facing our youth. Thank you for joining us today. Get education, get knowledge, as Dr. Patrick said, and call up your school board, call up your sheriff, and let them know we need to hold folks accountable. We need to uphold the law. I want to shout out to Dr. Patrick and say thank you to him once again, and we'll see you next time on A Gathering Place.